How have you prepared the truck?
So what I did was I invested a lot in big batteries. When the truck is moving, with the solar system, with the engine of the truck, it recharges the big batteries that I have.
So what is the real manifesto of that hero, everyday hero in you?
What is important is to accept your weaknesses and turn them into strengths. Your body is very strong. It is weak, but it is strong as well. And mentally, you have so much strength that it gives you belief for the rest of your life.
You are a Citadel product, the best US military college, and then to the Claremont.
Is to focus on every angle of life, not just specifically to be specialized in one angle, but to be a leader. Sometimes you become so selfish in that competition where it actually takes you backwards instead of forwards. So growing up, I just wanted to be better in everything.
It's a pleasant morning. Thank you, doctor, to be a guest in our channel.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to be here.
Arabian Mavericks crew members are really surprised because we are having such an early morning shoot.
Yeah, I wake up at 3 a.m. these days.
I was going to ask whether you are in a 5 a.m. club, but you surprised me.
5 a.m. is too late for me.
Oh, really?
That's why I like to do things in the morning. I think we are most productive in the morning.
That is true.
So really, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure. And I hope this goes very well today.
Of course, definitely. From a visionary leader like you, viewers will be expecting more life incidents, right?
Yes, I think every person has a vision, and I think what makes a person complete is to focus on every angle of life, not just specifically to be specialized in one angle, but to be a leader. You have to actually lead by example, and leading by example, you can't just, if you're an engineer, you can't just go ahead and be so specialized in engineer and forget other important, significant factors, aspects, angles of life. And that's I guess that's why we're here today.
Yeah, that's what exactly I want to ask. When I was scrolling through your LinkedIn profile, I was a little confused because many of the followers have endorsed your diverse skill set that is not quite often seen. So I got a little confused. Where do we start? So you are a everyday hero type of a person. So what is the real manifesto of that hero, everyday hero in you?
What is important is to accept your weaknesses and turn them into strengths. And a lot of people would say that. It's very easy to say it. But what does that mean? One of my main weaknesses, I would say, is that I am ultra competitive. Ultra competitive personalities, I would say that if they cannot cater very well to their character, then they might be at a loss in their life, because you want to compete against people, and sometimes you become so selfish in that competition where it actually takes you backwards instead of forwards. So growing up, I just wanted to be better in everything.
So you compete with yourself, your inner self.
The issue, to be honest, my weakness is that I don't just want to compete with myself. I want to compete with everyone. When it comes to football, I want to be the best. And when it comes to getting grades, I want to be the best. And it is tiring, to be honest, because if you can't reach that, then you beat yourself up emotionally, mentally. You don't accept it. I think, to be honest, that if someone is a relaxed person, I envy them. I envy relaxed, comfortable, I don't care kind of laid back personality. Sometimes I look at that type of personality and I'm like, I wish I can be that person.
But that has been quite a lot of preached nowadays. Be relaxed, be calm, be cool, chill.
Yes,
Things.
I think this is why I try to push myself competitively to be relaxed.
Okay.
And it doesn't make sense. But since that my character is an ultra competitive character and I want to be better than everyone, stronger, best looking, whatever you name it. It's a weakness.
So,
It's a psychological weakness. And in the beginning, since I was a kid, I had this, and I wanted to figure out how to turn this into something positive. And I tried to do many things in many of my hobbies, but I couldn't just do a hobby, do something that is productive for myself, do something that is productive for my society, without trying to be the best at each angle of them. But with carefully tweaking each one of them, then you get that type of endorsements that you're talking about in LinkedIn, which is that
yeah.
people would say, "Oh wow, he's doing this and he's best in this."
Okay.
So even when I became diabetic in 2008, I was like, I want to be the best diabetic as well.
Oh my God.
So every time I go to my doctor, they're like, "You're the best patient I have." And I'm like, "Okay, thank you. That's a win."
You are a Citadel product, the best US military college, and then to the Claremont. And you did your MA in academic in American University.
Yes, yes.
So how did you reach there? Were you that focused?
Well, at the Citadel, I pushed myself very hard. Before even going there, I was like, I need to go to the best, toughest military academy in the US. And when I was there, I struggled in the beginning, but then I turned things around.
Of course.
And
With your character, you will do that. I know.
I turned things around. I struggled, to be honest, for a long time while I'm there to make friends because of the culture. I could not mix I could not understand their culture, and they couldn't understand my culture.
Whose
But
choice was that? To go to Citadel?
Unfortunately, it was my choice. But what I got out of it, out of that experience, is something that until today I am blessed with. I have so much that I've learned from those years, from 18 to 21 to 22. Those years were very, very important to me because I struggled a lot, and I suffered a lot. I pushed myself to the physical, emotional limits, and then everything after that, sort of when I go into a difficult time, I remember that how much I pushed myself and what my body and
Okay.
my mental status can handle. So I was like, if I know that my limits are much more than what I'm going through right now, because I've tested myself.
Okay.
So that's why I know that the problem that I'm facing today, however big it is, I know that I can go through it.
That
Because
endurance level is
yeah,
that benchmark.
yeah, I know what my threshold is. At the early age, military academies teach you that you have, your body is very strong. It
Okay.
is weak, but it is strong as well. And mentally, you have so much strength that it gives you belief for the rest of your life. I remember my father told me few days just before entering the Citadel, he said, "You have two choices. You can go to hell
Oh my God.
for 4 years
Okay.
and then enjoy heaven for the rest of your life,
Okay.
or you can go to heaven for 4 years and then go through hell for the rest of your life. And which choice do you want?" I said, "Well, hell for 4 years is much better."
Yeah.
And what he meant was, when you go to university, you have basically your parents or whoever it is, paying your tuition. You're not working, you're just studying, you can sleep anytime you want. It's just so amazing. Friends, parties, whatever you want to do, it's like heaven. But then when you graduate, you're hit with reality.
True.
And you have responsibilities, you have bills to pay, you have so much that you need to do. And you always look back and remember the days that you were living life basically to the max. But if you go to a military academy, you hate it so much.
Okay.
And then afterwards, for the rest of your life, you're like, I've been through a lot, and now this is an enjoyable life. And that's what actually made me go to do my master's. I really didn't want to just study. I wanted to just enjoy the civilian life, because through those 4 years,
So, yeah, Citadel life. Yeah.
I was visiting my friends in Boston and Austin and Florida, and I was looking at their lives and how they lived, and I was like, oh, I just need that.
You need a break.
I need, yes. Even in the weekends, we had to, go out to the shopping and everything, or restaurants wearing our military uniform. So that's why I went to do my master's. And then in my master's, like, oh, wait, I need to study.
Yeah.
I came here just to enjoy it, but I couldn't enjoy it because in 2001, just a month through, just 3 weeks, I would say, but just enjoying my life in Washington, D.C. 3 weeks after that, September 11 happened.
Oh.
And yeah, in 2001, and then a lot of my friends left and came back to Bahrain, and I had to find new friends, but also maneuver around the politics that was going on, preparing for the Afghanistan war. I also had friends who graduated with me who went to Afghanistan, and I couldn't communicate with them. And in class, because I was studying international relations, we were talking so much about the war and Taliban and Al Qaeda and what's going on and so it was kind of like case study master's degree that I did. The whole curriculum changed and switched towards a new thing that came in 2001 called the asymmetrical warfare. Asymmetrical warfare, or non-state actors.
Correct.
Which is, before 2001, it was military against military.
Yeah.
You stand an enemy line and you know exactly who your enemies are because they are wearing a different uniform than yours. But then the whole world shifted because now the enemy is unknown.
True.
And if you're wearing uniform, the enemy will know you, but you will not know them. And if you go to a town or a village or whatever, you think that this guy is your friend, and then all of a sudden he is not your friend. So the world started becoming very complicated after 2001, and this is what we're witnessing up till this day. How complicated things are because of this asymmetrical warfare. You can. All the arsenal that you have, all the strength that you have is nothing. It's, imagine someone who lifts weight and he's like really big. Like, for example, my dear friend Sami Al-Haddad, I love this man. But he has a really strong body. He's a champion. He's a Bahrain champion. And, imagine if a small fly comes to him and bothers him. It can bother him so much if he can't see the fly.
Yeah.
Even though he has so much more muscles than this small, tiny fly. And I believe there was just recently an Indian billionaire who just passed away by, I think, swallowing a bee or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Which tells you, again, goes back to what I'm saying, is that our bodies are very strong yet very weak, and we have to just cater for them.
Oh, beautifully you have explained it.
Yeah, I mean, these are the things that come to our mind when we want to progress in the future, because this is the life that we have. And even though you've studied something, it doesn't mean that you need to stick so much to what you have studied. You have to cater to what the world needs are, because the world's needs changes with time.
So this geopolitical tensions, the change in the world scenario, that is all going to affect our educational system. Currently, you are now the senior advisory to the Ministry of Education in Bahrain. So all your academic experience, what you have gone through, all have taken a big role in your advisory role, right?
Yeah.
So by 2040, how would you like to see a Bahraini graduate? And how are we preparing now?
My role model is His Highness Sheikh Nasser. He is a very wise man. And when you feel that there is a personality that has wisdom, then you need to always keep your ears open when they speak. And what His Highness has said in terms of something very simple, to be honest, but it kept me thinking, and I think he said it almost now a year ago. He said there was a time when schools or education system rejected the introduction of calculators.
Yeah.
Because they saw that calculators were basically threatening the educational system or the way we get taught and everything like that. But those who actually made use of the technology of a calculator, just a simple calculator, they started jumping just jumping ahead of everyone. They started becoming advanced. And the thing is, this wise statement is something that I strongly believe in, is whether or not are we rigid or flexible. And if we are flexible, for example, how flexible can we be? The thing is, one of the courses that I teach at the American University, it's called Change Management, Creativity, and Innovation.
Okay.
And in change management, what you have to do is there are triggers that happen outside. So there are global triggers. For example, an introduction of a new technology globally, or COVID, for example. There are regional triggers as well. For example, if something happened in a competition, basically in Dubai or in Saudi or and so on, and then there are local triggers as well. If the shop right next to you develops brings in a new technology, do you stay behind or so on? I remember we have in Bahrain Danube and Manazil. They basically sell almost the same thing. In Manazil, if you grab something you want to at the beginning, this was like a few years ago when Danube first opened. In Manazil, you buy something, you go, you pay, you leave. In Danube, they used an older system where they have to, like, when you want to buy something, even if it's something very small, they treat it as if it's something big, and they print out a lot of papers. In comparison between Manazil and Danube, they're right next to each other, for example. I tended to use Manazil more than Danube because when I buy something from Danube, they used to hold you back for 10 minutes just to process the payment because there was a lot of paperwork that needs to be done. They processed smaller purchases and bigger purchases the same thing. That made them at a loss. So even local triggers are something very important and how you adopt technology. So in terms of flexibility and rigidity, what is important is that whenever there is a technology outside that you feel that it is coming towards you, you can't build a wall on that specific technology.
Very true.
Yeah, you can't build a wall because whether you like it or not, it will penetrate the wall. So the discussion these days is not about preventing AI, for example, in education. This is something that if anyone is discussing it in the education system, then they should not be in the education system. The discussion is how to use AI in the education system, because AI is not going to go away. It is coming, and then it will grow while staying with us. And the way it will grow is that it will be your best friend for the rest of your life. It will be with us, whether it's in education, and then after that, at work. So for example, right now, I have some friends who use AI in their email system. So what do they do in the morning? They come and they just tell AI, give me the most important emails that I have, answer the most important emails that I have, sort them out, and do this and do that, and then the AI does it as well. So if we want to prepare students, what are we preparing them for anyways? To work, or to actually use this technology to develop their own companies as well. So we cannot treat the education as if it does not take us to the next level. The next level is the economy.
Here I have a different question. As a creative advertising marketing company, we are flooded with all the AI engines, which we are equipping ourselves with it.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. But don't you think that students should be, how we can promote or protect the emotional intelligence of these students as well?
You see, the thing is, AI is, no matter how developed AI is, it will never replace the human being as how we are created. There's no way that AI will act as a human being. It can try to act like a human being, but there is no way that it will be able to act 100% as the human. So we're talking about percentages, for example. Let's say that AI can reach, for example, let's dream about it, and let's say AI can reach 80% of a human being. You still need 20%. And that 20%, I guarantee you, is the most important percentage, because that's where AI fails, right? No matter how much AI develops, it will never replace that emotional aspect that you talk about. What's important is that it assists us to do the part of our jobs that take a long time, the administrative part, the preparation part, all of that. It just helps us work faster, but it doesn't replace us. And science says that the introduction of the creative industry, which includes AI, even though it gets rid of, there are a lot of jobs that are lost because of AI, but actually the creative industry, for every job that is lost, they are replacing it by more than 2 jobs. So actually, so there are more jobs that are being created. It's the jobs that are created are in different sectors. It's not in the same sector, but it's in a more productive, creative sector that can only be developed in the emotional aspect, for example. I think that, to be honest, I think that we still don't have AI. These are, what we have right now are computers that assist us, but I don't want to call it AI. I think it's called AI for marketing purposes. But in a sense, intelligence is not something that I think we have achieved and reached yet. The artificial intelligence in its true meaning, I don't believe we have reached it yet. We have reached computerized systems, that we have reached programs, we have reached amazing developed algorithms, but not intelligence. So when you talk about emotional intelligence, there's this is by far something that AI will not reach. I don't think that AI actually reached AI.
Okay.
To speak. It hasn't reached intelligence yet. But it reached algorithms, developed algorithms, but not intelligence.
But we admire Finland or UAE for their systems in place. So how far Bahrain is equipped on what you are saying right now in the educational system?
I think in our culture, in our traditions, and in the history of Bahrain, we tend to there's something that I agree with and something that I don't agree with, to be honest. What I agree with is that when we want to do something, we want to make sure that risk is mitigated. And the only way risk is mitigated is by ensuring that there are successful practices around the world. And once there are successful practices, then you know that risk is mitigated, which means that the investment that you put in place, you're sort of almost guaranteeing that there is success out of that investment. There are countries that are risk takers. So in risk takers, when they put investment in a certain sector or a certain program, there is risk that there is no return to their investment. And it takes a lot of money, right, to invest in AI and so on. It's a business risk. That's why they don't just in UAE, they didn't introduce such systems to all the schools. They selected few schools to do that because it's expensive and because there's a lot of risk into it.
Yeah.
Now, this is where I disagree, is that I always want Bahrain to be the first, right? If you're second, you're not the first. And this is the wise mentality that it does not belong to me. I heard it from my superiors as when they encourage everyone else to do such programs, not just in this specific sector, education or so on, but even in the financial sector, even in the industrial sector, the tourism sector. When they speak to leaders in those sectors, they tell them, why do you need to wait and see this working somewhere else? If you do that, you will never be number one. And but I think that the truth is somewhere in between, and what we're doing is somewhere in between. But when we do something because of the strength that Bahrain has, we would do it better than anyone else. And one of the better examples, I would say, but one of the best examples, I'd say two examples. First is COVID. What Bahrain did in COVID was the best that any country in the world has done. The way we managed COVID, the way we reacted, the way we introduced, we continued in education. So after COVID, we didn't lose as much as the other countries lost in terms of educational years, a level of education with students and so on. We continued at a very good speed. Even death cases, COVID cases, and so on, they were the minimal. Even when it comes to vaccine, no matter how controversial vaccine is, but we were ahead of the game, where our leaders in Bahrain, they went ahead and they spoke to all of these vaccine manufacturing companies, and booked having a booked purchasing of vaccines before any country did it.
Okay.
Way ahead of the game. So that shows that when you have a smaller, relatively smaller country, you have strengths, and the strength is flexibility.
You have better control.
Faster decision making. I would say that. Look at, for example, oil. Let's look at oil. We have a fraction of what the countries around us has in terms of oil. A fraction of that oil.
Yeah.
Tiny little bits of a fraction compared to what exists around us. But our salaries are not a fraction of that oil. Our salaries are a bit less.
Directly proportionate to that.
It's not. If you take a ratio between oil and salaries, government salaries, and average salaries around both private and public sectors, you would see that we are much more advanced than the rest of the countries in the region.
Okay.
Yes, it is less, but it's less in one variable. And if you're like me, as a just basic statistics would tell you that you never have a model with just one variable. You need, it's a lot of variables, a lot of independent variables that cause an effect on one dependent variable.
Got it.
And this is how we have to think about it. This is what positivity is about. We still want to be the best. We still want to be we still want to have the highest salaries. Where does it start? It starts way in the back office of the education system.
Got it. So tell me a couple of initiatives from Bahrain Ministry of Education which you are planning to implement for the future generation.
I think what is very important these days is to understand that Bahrain is part of the world, right? And being part of the world means that you can't segregate your students, and what they study, their grades, their level in a certain age. You cannot segregate them from everyone else around the world, because we are part of the world. The world is globalized. Yes, different cultures, but every single student is going to be exposed to multiculturalism in the future. Sure. Every single student will work in a place. So we're moving into a multicultural world, and students will be exposed, whether they like it or not, either in their own company, in their own place of work, or working with another company or another country. They will have more than one nationality, more than one culture in their own place of work, or working with others, or working with. So what is important is that to ensure that students are at the same level, what requires globally of them, It is important as well to prepare them to work with different languages, different cultures as well, and not just to meet the minimum requirement, but to um, how to be more advanced than others. So it's not just ensuring that our 10-year-olds are at the same as the average 10-year-olds in Europe or in the OECD countries or in America or in India, but to ensure that the 10-year-olds are at the same level and much better. And this is what's very important. The thing is, it is not an easy job because the more curriculum you add, the more you have to let go as well.
Yeah.
And it's not just about adding, it's more important because if you just add, what ends up being is that
You're loading the
you're
student.
overloading, and when you overload, then the student will know so little of so much.
Correct. Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So you'll know a little bit of physics, a little bit of biology, a little bit of this. And my students at the university, I tell them, listen, one of the things that I was complaining about so much when I was in school and university is, why in the world would I
Study this.
this? Yeah, why am I studying this? Why do I need this? Oh my God, this. And then I call these courses, oh, this is just tax. The university just wants us to pay them, right? But guess what? These courses, the ones that I thought that they actually were just a loss of time, they were the ones that actually helped me much more than anything else. Because, as you said, you began with my LinkedIn. You said, you're good at many things, right?
Yeah.
That's why, because you can't just be good at one thing. In order for you to be good in sports, you need to understand biology. You need to understand physics. You need to understand aerodynamics. You need to understand about the mitochondria. You need in order for you to continue in sports, you need money, and in order to do that, you need to understand marketing. You need to understand how to advertise yourself. You need to understand. It's just so much of everything, because if you just believe that I just want to be a dentist and it's important for me just to understand about teeth, you will never be a good dentist. You need to understand everything.
In totality.
And I think that's where the future is. That's where these things are going to be very well integrated.
So that's what Bahrain educational system is focusing on.
I think this is what the focus is going to be there.
So now tell me, you have mentioned about the sports, and all in your life you have been a sports personality, a Guinness World Record holder. So what is that one thing that sports teaches better than in the classroom?
That's a good question. What is the one thing that sport teaches you that you cannot learn it in the classroom? And I would say strategy.
Wow.
Yeah. So, for example, right? If you want to achieve you want to succeed in a project. How do you succeed in a project? You need to strategize very well to achieve that project. Now, let me just simplify it and say there is a project that you do that you can complete in 1 month, and then there is another project that you complete in 5 months. The one that you complete in, not in 5 months, 5 years, let's say, right? The one you complete in 5 years is much more difficult. It's a bigger project. It requires a lot of planning. It requires a lot of... Now, the thing is, you cannot reach an objective, a goal, without planning for it. And when it comes to sports, for example, you register for an event. Let's say that you register for a marathon, okay? And the marathon is in 6 months' time. Now you need to train for that marathon. And training for that marathon means you need to sleep well, you need to eat well, you need to train and do work and all that stuff. But you also need to create milestones because you have a target that you want to achieve as well. So creating that milestones, doing the practice, and actually going out on the field and applying what you have written for yourself in an Excel sheet or any software, that actually is something that it's a practice of how to strategize. There are three types of employees, I would say, right? This is the end, because you're going to be an employee, you're going to be a leader. There are three types. One, this is how I categorize those three types, right? One, which is an amazing desk officer. You put him behind the desk, you put him or her behind a computer, and just forget about it. They're amazing. They will do everything, crunch the numbers, do everything. You know, as Russell Peters says. He says, you know, imagine they used to take Indians to South Africa as slaves. Us slaves? He says, come on, give me a computer, I do your taxes, but not slaves. And he was so funny. He was like, you know, he was like, oh, he was making fun of the culture of how amazing people in India are when it comes to mathematics, right? And using the computer. So this joke was so funny that I tell people, listen, you know, you can be behind a desk, you're amazing. That's one type of person. The other one is, if you put him behind the desk, he falls asleep. He literally, and I have friends that do that. You have to literally go to them and wake them up. But the moment you take them out on the field and you tell them, I need you to manage this event for me, make sure the speakers are here, make sure the security is here, I need those tents to be up at this time, I need the VIPs to be here and here. And he's like, don't worry about it. He puts a nice mic over here, has a walkie-talkie, whatever. He becomes Superman on the field. You take him back to his desk, he falls asleep, right? That's the second time. He's not a good desk officer. He's an amazing field of, he knows how to plan, and he gets switched on the moment he leaves his office. And he on his feet, such an amazing person. That's the second time. The third, they are the unique ones. This is what we can learn in sport, which is behind the desk, you are amazing, and out in the field, you are amazing as well. And sport is one of the practices that you can do that connects both your desk job to your field job.
Okay.
Right? And the best employees you can employ are the ones that have both skills. So, for example, if I see someone who is amazing behind the desk, but they're not healthy, they smoke, they basically don't really think about their lifestyle and how to improve their lifestyle and all. To me, it's they're half good, because your heart is a muscle, and if you don't take care of your heart, then it means that muscle will not pump enough blood to your brains, and your brain will not function very well, very properly, because your brain needs blood to function, right? And the easier the flow of blood to your brain, the better you will function, the more aware you will be, the better attentive you can be. And to me, I think all of these aspects are significant. But when someone is much into sports, science has said it, and as well as anecdotal evidence, I've seen it myself, is that that's the pressure release. That's where you can plan. A lot of people don't like to hear this, but that's the truth. That's the truth. The truth is that there are so many companies that when managers, leaders, CEOs, GMs, when they have employees who have hobbies in sports, they despise them. They don't support them. They tell them that it takes you away from work. You come late to work. Oh, where were you? You had a run, you had a swim. Why did you do that? And those type of leaders are failed leaders. Yeah, even though they are lucky enough to have an amazing check at the end of the month, but still they don't have the ability to connect the individual and their work to economic development of the whole nation. Every country around the world has an objective. The one objective of every country around the world is economic development and economic growth. And if leaders, CEOs, GMs, ministers, you name them, if they can't tie economic growth of the national economic growth, the GDP, GMP, if they cannot tie that to how the employee needs to be a strong performer, if they can't tie this to this, then it means that they shouldn't be at their job.
Very beautifully explained. Actually, it's an inspiration for the Arabian Mavericks crew members as well.
Yeah.
I was supposed to ask you a question, how you can convince me to make exercises, to make outdoor activities as a part of my routine.
Yeah.
I really find some excuses to say that, okay, I have meetings, I have this, that. But now I don't want that answer, that question to be asked, because you have beautifully convinced all of us. I'm sure all the CEOs listening to this show, especially to Dr. Sager, will be convinced.
There's a comedian that said he was once walking down the streets, and a thief came and stole his wallet. Right? So as soon as he stole his wallet, he followed him running. He was like, he ran behind him, he ran and he ran and he ran. And then he said, I stopped and I figured out that I was running for 15 minutes.
Okay.
And he said, I started thinking, I was like, wait a minute, I only have $30 in my wallet. And I ran for 15 minutes. He's like, I pay my coach $50 to run 15 minutes. I was more motivated to follow this thief than my coach. I figured out that this is actually an investment. He said, so I stopped and I yelled at the thief. I was like, thank you. Right? He said it was a much better investment following the thief. He did much better. And it was a much better investment as well, because he saved him on his personal trainer. The thing is, thinking about this, the best thing to do is to register for an event. Whatever the event is, whatever the age is, just register for any event, a run event, a walk event, a swim event, a triathlon, whatever you want. Register for the event and then just commit yourself to do that. Your life is going to be much better. You will be a happier person. Who doesn't want to be happy? And it takes less energy to be happy than to be upset. And when you're a happy person, a happy employee is a good employee, right? And
True.
so there's no way that anyone can convince any scientist that an active person with a good lifestyle is not a good employee. A bad employee is someone that thinks only of work as if it's life. There are so many different cultures around the world. Some of them, they live to work. But the best ones are the ones that work to live, right? And there are so many examples where American companies would try to move, create branches in countries like, for example, in Germany or so in Germany, for example, and they require Germans to do exactly what the Americans do back in America, right? But Germans, they don't like to live the way Americans live. They live a different life. To them, it's not about, okay, pay me more so I can work more, as the American culture is. But in Germany, they're like, I don't care if you pay me less. My leave is very important to me. I want these days of leave. And it's not about pay me more so I can decrease my leave. And so it's a different cultural aspect. And then you see obesity, for example, and where it is in America and where it is in Germany as well. And you'd find clearly that statistics talk very clearly about different cultures. We suffer the most in this culture, and that's why what I do is a reaction to the actual culture. All right. There's one thing that I told my students yesterday in a political ideologies class. Every ideology that came, whether it's liberalism, conservatism, communism, socialism, even populism, feminism, any political ideology that came, it was a reaction. Even fascism, it's a reaction to existing issues. right? But if the existing issues are nice issues, then you will not face those extreme ideologies. If the issues are normal, acceptable, and everyone is satisfied with the issue, they don't need to find an extreme ideology to battle it, right? And right now, my athletic sort of push in this in this culture, in this country, is an extreme ideology of why? Because the culture is not a satisfactory culture when it comes to lifestyle.
Yeah.
And when the culture fixes itself, lifestyle is much better, then you will not see my push so much in social media and so on into trying to bring people towards having that sort
Yeah, I
of
have
lifestyle.
noticed that in your social media. You have used social media to push especially the youth in convincing the triathlon. So you are being named as a Sheikh of Tri because you have been a very pivotal person in bringing triathlon to this region. So now next, what? You are preparing for a very adventurous uh, journey.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sure this is much interesting for all those travel enthusiasts and adventurous people around. So you are preparing for the
Road
truck
trip.
road trip.
Yeah.
Tell me more about it.
When you want to travel in an airplane, do you like to sit in a window seat or in an aisle seat?
Preferably an aisle seat.
Preferably, this is for the ease of movement.
Yeah.
But many people would say that if they know that it's not a night travel, it's not a night flight, they'd like to sit in a window seat
Yeah.
to look outside, right? And sometimes when you look outside, you're like, that's, you start guessing this is which country, this is which city, this is, then you open the
They'll
map
navigate, yeah.
and you start saying, oh, now we're here, now we're here. And I've been doing this since I was a kid, right? And I was like, I really want to see this. Because when you travel, for example, from Bahrain to London, it's really hot. You get in the plane, you sleep, you wake up, it's really cold. What happened in the middle? And they speak English. But what happened in the middle? Did we go from Arabic to English? No, we didn't. We went from Arabic to Kurdish to Turkish to Greece to Greek, maybe to some to the Balkan to Balkan to Italy to there are so many languages and cultures that we skipped in an airplane, and I think I want to see that change. I want to see how we go from desert to greenery, from hot to cold. I think there is so much in this world to learn from, and I've been dreaming about this trip for a long time, where I want to actually feel the changes in culture and language, in the environment as well, and there's just when you teach, when you want to speak to people, when you want to teach, when you want to go on social media, the best way to communicate with people is by storytelling.
Very true.
And how will you create stories if you just live a boring life, right? I'm 45 right now, and I don't think that this is middle age or the end of the age.
It's just an attitude.
This is a start.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much to teach and so much to bring, but you can't really teach if you don't learn.
Yeah.
Exactly. So my mantra, I would say, is you need to read at least 1,000 words so that you can speak one word. For every word you speak, you need to read and learn 1,000 words, because you have to be very careful of what information you give to people. You have to always hesitate and think and rethink. So I have a PhD in political science, yet I feel that I have no education whatsoever, because the more you know that there's so much that you don't know, right? And you have to always be hungry to learn more. And you don't need to just learn in a boring style. Make it exciting, learn in a very interesting style. Some would say that, okay, you're a senior in the government, or you're a member of a royal family, or why would you do something like this? I would say this is the problem, is when you see things and you let those aspects become part of your ego, prevent you from becoming a better person.
And that's your comfort zone also, which you want to come out.
The thing is, yes, the thing is, the best way to learn is when you operate outside of your comfort zone. Thinking outside the box, right? People would say thinking outside the box. They would say go, push your comfort zone. But the thing is, if 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 this is your comfort zone, do you want to be outside of a comfort zone but holding the comfort zone?
No.
If you want to be outside of your comfort zone, don't just be next to the border. Go really far away from your comfort zone as much as you can. Take risk, go there. The further away you get, the more nervous you will get, the more excited you will get, the more you will learn. And the thing is, we live once. If I don't do it now, when will I do it?
True.
And I want to go to Kurdistan. I want to go to Turkey and to Bulgaria. I've been to Serbia, but I want to see all of these things, stop in villages, talk to people, let people talk to me, and see how it goes. To be honest, I think I'm very
So how have you prepared the truck?
well. I
Tell those specifications for the automobile enthusiast over there.
There are two ways to prepare the truck, because one is to sleep in it and one not to sleep in it. So I prepared it to sleep in it. And to sleep in it, then you can choose. Do you want to sleep in it with noise or without noise? Right? Because the older way of sleeping in tents and trucks and all that stuff, if you want electricity and air conditioning and so on, you have a generator, and the generator is very loud and you sleep while the generator is on. But that's the older system. So what I did was I invested a lot in big batteries,
Okay.
big, humongous lithium batteries. And since now batteries are available, and I invested into creating a system, a very environmentally friendly system, whereby when the truck is moving, with the solar system, with the engine of the truck, it recharges the big batteries that I have, and then the batteries can operate for days with the air conditioning, a kitchen, a toilet, and everything, and the TV and the internet on board. This Starlink internet with Starlink that recently we have it here in Bahrain. So I tried my best to fit as much accessories as possible. Now, I have to say that I am guilty. These are toys. A lot of them are toys. But again, it's not about being boring. Just make it exciting. Just enjoy it. The truck is nice. It looks nice. It's cool. I feel good when I drive my car. And every decision you make is both emotional and rational. If we are, as one of my professors once told me back in 2005, when I started studying a PhD, he said, if we are just rational individuals, then each one of us will have the same economic car with the same color. That's not what we see on the road. We see economic cars, and we see non-economic cars. We see cars that make sense, and we see cars that make no sense whatsoever, because we put our taste into our purchases, right? That's why women buy purses as well. Doesn't make sense to buy snake purse or whatever you want to call it, or a Birkin or whatever, right? I mean, or a Labubu. But, but they buy it, they pay money to buy it. And why? Because we are not rational completely. We are emotional, and it makes life more interesting. And that's what I did with my truck. It looks mean. It looks nice. I like it. And yeah, it's a V8. It uses a lot of petrol, but also I have a lot of batteries. So I'm sort of balancing my footprints. Yeah.
So we also wish all the best, an exciting drive, and we'll try to cover some of the portions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be excited to do that. And saying all this, you are not saying all this out of your reading habits or no. There is a personal transformation you have done in your life,
Yeah.
especially when you were diagnosed as a type 2 diabetes. So how did that convince you to, or how did that make you more powerful?
I would say there are two or three events, historical events, I would say, and recent events that took place that really changed the way I think and made me sort of have this oomph inside of me to do something about it. First of all, like in the first few years of being diabetic, you're in denial about it and you try to get rid of it, you try to find the medication and all that stuff. But what really hits you psychologically is to understand that you're not going to live forever. We say it, we understand it, but when you're sick with a disease, um, you sort of accept it in a different way. So when you know of someone that has diabetes or cancer or whatever, you would say, okay, yeah, we don't live forever. But when it's you that has that, the way you react to it is much different. It took me, I would say, 3 years or 4 years just to accept that my life is going to end, even though I knew that the life is going to end. But when it hits you differently. And that makes you act differently. It changes you completely because then everything you do, you don't want to waste time and you don't want to do silly things. And you sort of start becoming laser focused on what you want to do. Just let's all of us here, whether here or behind the cameras, think about it. What if you have a week to live? I guarantee you will do something other than what you're doing right now.
All
Right.
right. True.
Yeah, just like imagine like you have 1 week. What are you gonna do? You're gonna do so every day I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna wake up the next day, right? I don't know if my sugar level is gonna go down so what do I do today so that maybe anytime I'm away from, my family or away from my friends and so that it changes your life completely and it makes you think of it. So that's one aspect. Another thing is, studying political science. Um, you learn a lot about history. You learn a lot about the politics of the Middle East. You learn about you have to learn history and you have to learn politics.
And also, you will be very much alert in the present situations or happenings
Yeah.
around you. Yeah.
One of the things that really affected me a lot is learning how the Islamic Empire was very productive in history with regards to science, with regards to going into Spain, expanding to east and west and up north and down south, and today we can see, for example, how the remnants of the Islamic Empire. And you can see that later on when the British or the Portuguese, the Spanish, the French, when they started expanding around the world, you'd see that the way they acted were very different how the Islamic Empire acted, right? And I think that at the moments where we are right now in this part of the world, I think we are not as strong as where we were together as human beings, all of us together. There was a time where thoughtful people were actually guiding the world to a better world and to a more peaceful world. And I think the leaders of the peaceful world, the strong leaders of the peaceful world, were overpowered by strong people who are actually not prone to peace. They benefit more from conflict than from peace. And I think that the reason is because we slept. We just let it go and we allowed our sort of wealth take over our decisions and take over our focus. And that's why, in the West, they have something called the oil curse, which is how Oil actually was supposed to be something that benefits you, but instead it takes you
Yeah.
becoming more dependent on something that can go away. And we have limited time to use the wealth that we have to push us ahead of everyone else. And I think this is what we are witnessing today in the Gulf and Kuwait and Saudi and Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman. We're like, no, enough is enough. We're not going to let oil to actually just spend it on just individuals, like diamonds in Africa, for example.
Yeah.
And that's it. No, let's do so much more to society. Let's put our money in education, in infrastructure, in energy, in AI, in tourism, and so on. And I think that's the right thing to do. But I also believe that
For the coming generation as well.
yeah,
It creates the platform.
I think this is the right way to do it. I think that it's not too late. Of course, we're sort of late to the party,
Yeah.
but at least we started it, right? So that's seeing the glass half full. We started it. I believe there's much more to do, which is to focus on industry, to focus on manufacturing, to focus on actual manufacturing. So the focus is correctly done so, but I think we need to focus more on how to transfer ourselves from becoming an importing region to an exporting region. And that's where the focus should be, I believe. And this is what pushes me to teach a lot, to speak a lot.
Okay.
Mostly to bring that awareness that, don't think that you can't become sick at any time. And don't sit down and forget about the world because you are in competition with the world. They are our friends, Asia is our friends. We're parts of Asia. Africa are our friends. Europe are our friends. America, and they're all our friends. But it doesn't mean that we don't compete with them. And we need to compete economically. We need to start becoming more productive. And don't think of just, I want to graduate to find a job. And that's what I don't like. And this is what pushes me so much because I have little time to do that. And what I want to do is to create a snowball effect where I can be that small little thing, but I need to connect myself with whoever comes after me and after them and after them. And maybe after 150 years, we can go back where the peaceful leaders are the strongest in the world, right? We have to start today. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm sure that we are taking only the tip of the iceberg. If we continue to sit with him and talk and learn from him, there is an ocean of knowledge, and he can motivate us and he can convince us to do that thing.
One of the one of the silliest courses that I took was modern art history.
Okay.
And I was like, what am I doing in this course, right? Modern art history. But one thing that I learned in that class, I cannot say how much I was affected by it, which is learning about a building somewhere. I don't know where it is, but the most important thing is that building was it's very historic. It's very old. I think it was a church or something like that, but it took 150 years to build it.
Okay.
The thing about it is that the man, they knew that it's going to take 150 years to build it, but the first individuals that put the first bricks, they worked on that building knowing that in their lifetime, they will not see the completion of that project. Yet they still worked. They put brick after brick and they passed away. The next generation came. They continued building that building. They knew that someone before them started building and that in their lifetime, they will not complete the project. And then so on and so forth until the last people came. And 3 generations, 4 generations later, they completed the building, knowing that it is the work of their ancestors that brought up to that completion. And this is how I think we should live. Don't just try to finish every project in your lifetime, right? Just make sure that whatever you do, you pass it in a very nice way to the next and to the next and to the next. And then the other generations that are going to come 150 years after us are going to be thankful that we started thinking the right way. And this is, I think, the silliest course that I took, how much it taught me about how to live our lives.
There is one thing in that, doctor, because whenever we try to learn something or read something, there is always a gap that how well we accept or make it practical in our life, or in a situation how that story comes in and give us an answer.
Yeah.
That is somewhere we are lucky.
Yeah.
That is something which I always try to tell my son, to make it, apply it in your practical life. This is not just a story.
That's why in most of my courses, I don't have a final exam. I have a final project. And I get into trouble with the university because they're like, oh, no, but we need to do exams. I'm like, I don't believe in exams. I believe in projects, because projects is the thing that allows students to connect what we learned in classrooms to the actual life that we live in outside. And that's how they get convinced. But I think that I'm very lucky to be at the American University of Bahrain, and they understand what we do that. But I don't want to market myself a lot, because then I'd end up with a lot of students, and that's a lot of work.
So we Arabian Mavericks really wanted to get associated in long term with you. We want you to come again as one of our guests.
Sure.
We really
My pleasure.
love to look forward for that.
Thank you.